My name is Pedro, as Gabriel introduced me before. I'm the Global Innovation Leader for PwC at the global level, and I was the Chief Innovation Officer for PwC Spain in the last 8 years. And actually, even though the name of this session is called Managed Research, I'm going to start from the other part of the spectrum, which is manage what is not research, but actually that also delivers innovation. And actually, I'm going to share with you my personal experience in running innovation in a service firm. The case it has been in Spain. It can be applied to any service company, or it can be applied to any industrial company, or even departments, like most of you are running a service department within your companies, since I think that's one of the roles of the financial departments. So I'm going to share with you a true story. And it was back in 2007, and I was working in consulting within PwC. And actually, it was the Friday before Easter. And actually, I was planning of taking the next 4 days and make, with Easter, make 10 days of holidays. And I was almost to leave on that Friday. And then, if it works, do I have to do something? The rapid technology, right? Okay, it's here. So I got a call. I got a call from the business assistant of the president of the firm in Spain. And she told me something like, would you mind having a meeting with our president next Monday? And I said, no, I will not mind having the meeting. So I had the meeting that next Monday, and he told me that they were developing a strategic plan for the next 4 years. One of the goals was to grow by 50% of the revenues of the firm, to differentiate from our competitors, and to involve our employees in the transformation of the business. And he told me something like, you have a blank page to develop a new innovation system or practice within the firm. You have all my support. And that's how everything started. So I'm going to share with you what we did in those years as a way of illustrating how a company can multiply 10 times the results from innovation. In our case, the results meaning revenues. So it was back in 2006, 2007, at least in my country, in Spain, it was the glory days. Everything was fine. We were growing like 4% every year. No one predicted what was going to happen. But we all companies face the same problem or the same risk, which is inertia. If you do nothing, the best thing that can happen is that you stay the same or you maintain the same speed. If the environment changes, then is when you are in the problem. So in those years, from 2006, let's say 2007 until 2014, you probably know that the Spanish economy contracted by 7%. In our case, in the PwC Spain, we grow almost to double the business, so twice the business. So it was everything around innovation, not everything, but it played a key role. And actually, I'm very proud, I would say, last couple of weeks ago, the Financial Times published a report on the most innovative law firms. We have lawyers in Spain too, in one of our line of services. And we were ranked number 3 in Europe as one of the most innovative firms. So in general terms, the results were quite good. So I'm going to share with you how we did it as a way of illustrating how innovation can be implemented in a company. So let's start with innovation. That's one of the core beliefs that is somehow shining the all things I'm going to say. You are what you do. It's not a matter of your intentions every morning. It's not a matter of what you say about yourself. It's about the end of the day, what you do is how it's going to define who you are. So this number, 80%, there is a lot of research on this. And this figure represents the main source of innovation in the companies. So 80% of the innovation in the companies comes from a single source. And this source is the employees. It's not the R&D department. The R&D departments normally generates 10% of the innovation in the companies. but the 80% of the innovation comes from employees. So the challenge is how can we, from a management perspective, can capture that value that is in our companies. Because if we do nothing, nothing will occur. You need to manage to capture the value of this source of innovation. But we all have a huge barrier. So the message is we have panic of sharing our ideas to our peers. It's even worse if we want to share our ideas to our bosses or our responsibles. So what's the normal thing that happens when we are in an innovation project at the beginning, right at the beginning? So since we have that fear, what we tend to do is to be politically correct. So if we have teams that are politically correct, the results are politically correct. I'm not saying that we get crazy in the organizations, but the point is that we need to create a safe environment in our organizations to allow people to express their ideas. Ask yourself, when was the last time in the last 6 months that someone from your team came up to you and shared with you a really crazy idea or really out-of-the-box idea? Because if it is not happening, then it's something that we need to do about that. So that's one of the key challenges, is to capture that 80% and to break down this barrier of the fear that we have about the judgment of our colleagues. So when it comes to innovation, I like to show this symbol, I would say. I think it's pretty clear. The positive part, right, is about just being positive to any problem that may arise. Second, I think, is around creating value, whatever value is for you and for your companies. And the curiosity here is that the etymology of the names of the currencies, of the yen, the euro, and the dollar, matches the 3 key concepts that are around innovation, which are you need creativity, you need speed, and you need discipline. So the 2 sides are creativity and discipline, and the glue is the speed. So the yen, in its original, in the etymology of the name, the yen is somehow around the whole, where all the parts are connected, so we can match this with creativity. The euro, in its original name, is the god of the wind. I know that it's not very natural, but you can relate the god of the wind with the speed. And the dollar, these 2 lines actually refers to the Hercules towers, somehow keep in mind the structure. And the S, it comes from the Latin, which is plus ultra, which is going beyond. So you need to have a structure, you need to have a system in order to move forward, especially in innovation. So I'm going to share with you today 10 elements that somehow are the key building blocks for implementing innovation in any company, regardless if it's a manufacturing company or if it's a service company. So I'm going to say the first 5 key ingredients of the discipline side, and then I will refer to the 5 key ingredients for the creativity side. When it comes to discipline, it's around innovation, it's around management, it's about how to manage innovation. When it comes to creativity, it's our personal agenda as a human beings. So discipline. I'm not a supporter of Barcelona, neither Madrid, so I don't have any stake here. But the principle in the 5 things I'm going to share with you today is that it's not enough to implement one of them on an isolated basis. You need all these 5 building blocks. It's like Messi. We could agree that he's probably the best player in the world. But the difference is when he plays for Argentina, he wins nothing. And when he plays for Barcelona, he wins everything. So it's not that you have the best player only. You need to be combined with something more because it's a team sport. So what are these 5 blocks? I call them the 5 Ps. The first one is policy. You need a policy when it comes to innovation. So defining policy helps you to answer 3 key questions. The first one is, what are the goals that we are looking for? The second one is, what investments do we have to make? And the third one is, who should be involved? So one key important message is innovation is not an end in itself. It's a mean for something. So the first thing you have to do is to align innovation with the business goals of the company. We run every year a report on the 1,000 most innovative companies around the world. The main problem of these, who are the the top innovative companies, the main problem they face, 50% of them, is that the business goals are not aligned, or the innovation goals are not aligned with the business goals. So this is very critical. So what we did in Spain when we started was just to have a budget. Very simple thing. Budgeting what? Budgeting first in terms of results. So we figure out to have a percentage of the revenues of the year that should come from innovation. We started with a goal of 3%, sorry. Now we are close to 10%. So 10% of the revenues every year comes from innovation projects. What's the other side of the budget is what's the investment that you have to make. Obviously, you need to invest in money. But the most important thing when it comes to invest in innovation is not the money. It's the time. It's the time that you allow your professionals to participate in innovation projects. That's the way of capturing that 80% that I mentioned before. And by doing this, the marginal cost, the incremental cost of running innovation is close to zero. Because what you are doing is allowing people to use part of their time to participate in innovation projects. And the third question I said before regarding policy is who should be involved. So we do not have an innovation department. To have an innovation department, I'm not saying R&D, which is quite important to have one, but of course innovation, the business innovation, we do not have an innovation department. That was a shortcut. Because when you create an innovation department, do you know what's going to happen? The rest of the organization tends to think that those who have to innovate within the organization are those who are in the innovation department. And whatever result that comes from that innovation department is not going to be implemented ever. We are, as humans as we are, we create a perfect immune system to stop implementing anything that comes from, let's say, the cool guys of the organization. So we do not have an innovation department. Actually, I was the only one during 7 years that was on a full-time basis running innovation. We have innovation teams in all of the line of services or business units. The role is not to innovate. The role is to help the rest of the professionals to participate in innovation projects. Actually, this year, or every year, we have the goal that 50%, 50% of our employees, we are around 4,000 in Spain, can participate in innovation projects. And I'm going to explain you later on why they want to participate. The second P is around processes. I said before that innovation needs discipline. And discipline needs three things. It needs a structure, it needs time, and it needs a space. The first one is structure. All employees need to know where innovation begins and where innovation ends. Because there are methodologies, there are systems, there are technologies to help through this process. This is not like a kind of chaotic way of doing things. This is about discipline, and there is a way of running innovation. So this is somehow around the structure. One thing that I tend to see in many clients when I work with them is that companies tend to start innovation processes, what is called the generation of ideas. So they ask to the employees to say, share or give me ideas, anyone, any ideas that you may think of. When you start this way, normally it doesn't work because you get a lot of ideas. The issue is that you don't know what to do with them. And actually, you don't know what these ideas are solving somehow. So instead of starting with the generation of ideas, there is a previous one, which is by far the most difficult process in innovation, which is, we call it radar. But the issue is to find, in a systematic way, what problems are worth solving. And that's, from my point of view, the #1 priority for top management in the organizations, to focus the organization in what problems are worth solving, and challenge the organization to give ideas somehow to resolve the problem that is important for the company. The second one is the space. So you need different spaces for running innovation activities in your own companies, because space affects the way we think. If we are 7 people for 2 hours with a specific issue, we go to the general meeting room, we will get to one result. Same people, same 2 hours, same issue. You go to a different space, the results are completely different. Normally, they are much better. It does not imply that you have to build up a new building. It's just you need to redesign some of your spaces within your organization, because what you're going to do in an innovation project is different from the day-to-day work that you do. And the third one is time. By time, I mean innovation with a time frame is a waste of time. You need constraints. I'll give you an example. We in the past, this is Spain again, whenever we launch a new service, the best one that we had was around 120 days. Since someone identified one problem until that new service was launched into the market, 120 days. And we do not produce any material thing. It just was ideas and paper. So we reduced that time to market from 120 days to 30 days. Now we run on average around 70 projects every year. 85% of them are developed within that time frame. Because if there is no pressure, there is no creativity. The pressure could be because short time frame, because of the complexity of the issue, or because you don't have much money. But you need to be really disciplined when it comes to develop something into the market. The third P is about the products, basically about the results of innovation. There is a huge myopia. People tend to think that innovation is about new products or new services. And actually, there is a lot of research on this. There are 10 areas where you can innovate. Obviously, you can innovate in new services and new products, but you can innovate in business models, or you can innovate in the delivery of your products and services on your channel, on your branding, and your alliances, and your internal processes. There are 10 areas where you can innovate. What we have learned with the pass of the time is unless you combine or you use 3 of these 10 areas, it's very difficult that the innovation is going to succeed. It's more difficult, but you can launch a new service with a new different business model and a new technology. The fourth P is around people. We have included innovation in all human capital processes, from selection to training, from compensation to career development. So what we have transmitted to our professionals is, if you want to have a career within this company, you must develop your skills. You must have tried innovative approaches or innovative new services, because your career is going to depend on this, among other things. But it's the way to link the motivation of our professionals. So it's part of the incentives, yes. It's part of the training, yes. We train every single professional in innovation methodologies and techniques, but it's part of the system. It has to be something natural of the organization. The fifth P is partners, external partners. We in the world of today, we have to assume that we do not know everything, and it's worth investing our time to partner with other companies to develop something new, because we all we are a value chain, and it's always the weakest chain, weakest link, so that's the way of surfacing it. One of my roles on a monthly basis is to meet people from other companies. Doesn't matter from where. No agenda, just to get to know each other. What are you doing? What am I doing? Because maybe in the future, in 3 months, I'm gonna have one issue that maybe is worth partnering with that organization. However, if you have not invested your time in partnering with other organizations in an active way, on a monthly basis, I would say, it's going to be very difficult. So these are the 5 key building blocks. If you just implement one of them, normally it's not going to work. If you just implement one technology for running innovation campaign or something like that, it's not going to work. If you just only set goals for your professionals on innovation, it's not going to work. You need the whole thing, because it's a system and you need all of them. So what's the other side of the coin? I said before it was discipline. The second one is creativity. And creativity is something that is for all of us on a personal level. Because here the belief is that, if I can move this, creativity is the only thing that cannot be copied. So I'm going to share with you, and it's based in extensive research, what are the 5 core skills that we individually have to develop to somehow foster our creativity. It's not rocket science, we're going to see right now, but it's something that is in our personal agenda. And actually, as an example, these 5 core skills, we train every single person in our firm in Spain on these 5 skills. So the first one is about curiosity, right? We all have interest in meeting new people, in knowing new things. Today is an example. You have come here to learn, to share experiences. That's fine. But normally we tend to do this because we have a kind of short-term interest, which is fine. My message is that curiosity starts where interest ends. When you do something, you meet people, you learn something, you go wherever for the sake of it. We will see later on why this one is so important. It's about curiosity, about enriching our experiences, our knowledge, our insights. I will see later on how to use this. The second one is observation. The problem we have also as a human beings is that we only see what we are looking for. I don't know if you have the chance of, there is a video in the internet of two basketball teams that they are passing the ball. I don't know, I can pass it to you. So somehow what you have to do is to count how many times one of the teams passes the ball. And you're watching the video, it lasts 17 seconds. And when you are counting how many times one of the teams passes the ball, there is one guy dressed as a monkey crossing the whole stage. And 90% of people do not see that monkey because we are focusing on one thing. So we need to learn how to observe. One of the key methodologies in innovation is around observation, where you look and see what people are doing in order to improve your services. So observation is a critical thing. The third one is around questioning, basically around 3 questions. Why? Why not? What if? And make yourself these questions on a regular basis. This is not a male issue. We, again, as a human beings, we are really bad when it comes to make questions. Because when we make questions, what we do really is to confirm what we are thinking. We are not making questions to discover new things. We are making questions to confirm our thinking. There are fantastic exercises that show our somehow mental model, which is the one I'm saying right now. The fourth skill is around association of what? Of 2 things, ideas and people. People who are really innovative have a tremendous big network. They connect with people. And I'm not referring to have contacts in LinkedIn. I'm referring to meeting physically with colleagues or with people from other organizations on a regular basis to exchange ideas. That's one of the reasons why, when it comes to innovation around the world, they are always in one place. It could be Silicon Valley, it could be London, it could be Tel Aviv. There is a place where people meet frequently, so it's up to you to do that. And the other one is to associate ideas from other territories, from other practices. People tend to ask me, Pedro, this is the most difficult skill that I don't know how to do it. And my answer is always the same. How are you doing with curiosity? Because if you are preparing a cocktail and you always use the same cocktails, there is a limited range of how many different cocktails you can prepare. Unless you add new ingredients, it's going to be very difficult. So that's why curiosity is probably the key one to this skill. And the fifth one is basically experiment. It's about trying. We tend to do, when it comes to innovation, to launch the perfect product, the perfect service. And sometimes the point is launch something pretty fast. Learn from what your customers are doing with your product and improve it on a regular basis. So speed is critical, and experiment is even better. So what lessons have we learned along the journey? Yes, I'm closing with this. The first one is innovation is not welcome in the companies. Why? Because we are human beings. Again, I'm using the same word all the time. And we are perfect machines when it comes to save energy. And innovation takes energy. So it's worth focusing our efforts in the problems worth solving. So as I said before, without pressure, there is no creativity. Another one, if it doesn't affect my future, it has no present. Unless innovation is part of the career development of our employees, it's not going to work. And it's not worth even trying. Ideas are overrated. I'm not saying that they are not important, but that they are overrated. it's much more difficult by far to find what are the right problems to solve. If you want to implement an innovation system, you have to design it first and implement the pieces. I referred to the 5 Ps I mentioned before. Align innovation with your business goals, start with a budget, distinguish incremental innovation processes from the radical ones. Speed is king, right? But patience is queen, right? So this is not, innovation should not be the initiative of the year. I think actually, I think the initiative word is quite good. You initiate something, but it never ends. So it's longer than that, but it does not imply that you're going to get results in the short term. Again, I'm going to insist a lot on this. Innovation is a physical process. There is no technology on earth that can substitute the dynamics of 7 people meeting in the same room for 2 hours. And obviously, without the involvement of the leadership, is a waste of time. So this is I use the metaphor of designing a subway or an underground network. So you see somehow the whole picture here. What are the 10 areas? If you just focus on the shape of this subway, you will see that it's pretty similar to this. Maybe you are aware of, but this is somehow the symbol for a Chinese game called Tangram. Tangram is you use 7 blocks, those 7 blocks, and you can figure out thousands of different images. What I'm trying to transmit today is that there are not 7, but 10 key building blocks, and it's up to you to design how innovation could look like in your organization. So maybe you are thinking, if you look at this word, some of you may read, yeah, good ideas, but nowhere, no. Or maybe some of you can read now here. So again, it's up to us to do something around this, because at the end of the day, you are what you do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pedro.